Come out tonight for our Thursday night real estate investing mastermind. And so to kick it off tonight, we want to just welcome you all out. My name is Ray Fleming. I'm part of the Wise Guys and Ties along with my partner, Mr. Joseph Smith. Go ahead and put our picture there on the screen and our contact information. So if you have any questions, you want to reach out to us, anything regarding real estate, business startup, business financing, or debt pay down strategies, help we can get you help on all those avenues. Now tonight what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about some real estate investing. And before we jump into that, I want to go over a couple little housekeeping items. Quick little disclosure that I am an independent marketing affiliate with Renatus. Basically, I market their services, and we have a contract that means if we end up selling any of their services, they get paid. Basically, we make referrals to them. All it is because I've actually used their services with success. I trust it, I use it, and I would not recommend it if I did not. Also, I'm not going to be practicing any licensing tonight on this, even though we're going to talk about taxes, finances, legal aspects. I'm not a licensed attorney, accountant, financial, any other licensed individual, and this is going to be general in scope. Always recommend that you get those professionals on your team to make sure that you are achieving the results that you want to, and everything that you are doing is working for the situation that you are approaching, if that makes sense. And of course, we just don't ask that you kind of chop any of this stuff up or reshare it. We put plenty of the content out there for you. Also, gotta let you guys know that we've been growing. So before this whole shutdown thing, we've had offices all around the country, and we're moving to more of like an online platform now, which is something for you to be able to plug in and tap into. Now, so let's talk about real estate. Real estate, the REI progression. So real estate investing, how you progress as a real estate investor is extremely important. And there's really a process to this. And so I want to go over that a little bit today. I want to talk about how being a real estate investor is really crucial to building wealth, to really achieving the wealth results that you want. Um, there's a lot of factors that
There's a
go.
medical tech company called
Whoa, got some sounds going off on us from YouTube. But all right, so what is that first progression step in real estate investing? It's you starting out as an employee. Maybe you have gained access to a job and good capital, and then you purchased your first house. So you have a job, right? And then there's kind of the next step where you're self-employed, you're wanting to pursue this a little bit further, and then that's when you just really own a job. We always encourage you to become a business owner, dive into the world of business ownership so you own a system and people work for you. What it truly means to be an investor, that's the final point that we hit. And that is where your money is just working for you. This is important to understand because it's a process. Wherever are you an employee currently? Are you starting up your own business? Have you got your full-blown business running? Or are you in the retirement stage where you are sending your money out to go work for you as long as it comes back with friends? This is important for you to understand because why are you here? And what do you have to bring to the table when it comes to investing in real estate? Now, typically, we don't have all four. If we have all four, then we are off kind of doing our own thing. But if you're here, you're plugging into us, are you looking for more money? Or are you somebody with money and looking for a place to put that? Do you have time? Are you looking for a way to spend your time to make more money? Or is it that you don't have any time and you're looking to use your money to regain your time? Knowledge. Is it that you have fear around the world of real estate investing and you're trying to get past that fear with knowledge? Or do you have knowledge and specialized skills that you can share with others as they're on this journey towards success? What about relationships? Now, this is a currency that sometimes we don't even think about, that having a relationship with somebody can get you discounts. Having a relationship with somebody can get you knowledge. That can actually save you time. It can get you money. All of these currencies are interchangeable, and that's what I really, really love about understanding these four currencies, because as you understand these currencies, you'll start to realize that you can interchange them and leverage them to your advantage. But I'm not saying that you take advantage of your relationships, but let's say that you have a relationship with someone who has a retirement account and they want to invest in real estate. You have the time, the knowledge, but you just didn't have the money. Could you come together to create a win-win situation? Well, I'm telling you, folks, that understanding the currencies and how powerful they are is truly the key to success. All right, and let's check out this next slide here. So, disclaimer, the information shared here is for explanation purposes only. Any projection of growth income does not, I'm not implying real estate is unique, and just because one person has success doing one thing doesn't mean the next person will have the exact same results. But I want to talk tonight about taxes, about business structure, and how this is an important part to your real estate investing. Because as you start to go out there and you have rental properties, or maybe you're getting into wholesaling, or maybe you want to do some fix and flips, whatever aspects of real estate that you're moving into, we have to be cautious about all the leaks that we have. And this typically is going to result in tax leakage. Now, what am I actually talking about tax leakage? Well, where we are losing money, that every penny that we're losing, like we talk about credit banking, though, that's money that can be saved, and once it's saved, that's earned. So what you focus on is what you get. Now I want to talk about what I used to focus on. And I used to be in the low financial efficiency mindset. So I went to work every single day for debt. I literally had bills to pay. I have this bill, I have this bill, and I got myself out of bed because if I didn't go to work, then my bills didn't get paid, and then the repo guy shows up and starts taking things away. And then my wife is going to get mad at me, and then my children will be crying, and it's just going to be a disaster. But so every single day, I'm getting up, I'm going to work, and starting to work to pay my debt. And then as I'm sitting there at work, I'm realizing that while I'm at work, half of that money's already getting spent. It's going to taxes, it's going to Medicare, it's going to Social Security, and I'm trying to catch up on the interest payments, and the taxes of everything just start to pile up. I had a lot of liabilities. So we all have one of these, these little black mirror things, the cell phones, that every one of us has one. But the question is, who's paying for it? It should be your business that is paying for this cell phone. It should be a business that had bought your computer. Um, you know, we're kind of doing things a little bit differently today. I'm working from the home office right now, which is, I have the kids in here mopping up. I probably have a video of that too. Like I have a video of the kids cleaning up, mopping up, wiping down the cabinets, sweeping up. So there you go. There's a little video of the kids. They're cleaning up, and that's what they have to do. They have to clean up the home office. They're walking around there, wiping down the desks and the chairs and dusting and shredding papers and taking out trash. This is what they have to do because I have gymnastics that they're in, they want to pay for, horseback riding lessons, and they got to do some work. They got to figure out some things for them to do. Maybe they'll go to the office and vacuum up, like Joseph, his son. We'll have him film us sometime. If we're out at a project, we'll have his son start busting out the video camera and filming us. And so it's a great way for us to start showing them a different path. I actually was fortunate enough to have my grandparents owning a business when I was young, and I would do mailers and package shipments and all these things, and it taught me to work hard from an early age. But it didn't teach me how to run a business. I just understood that I had to work for money, and basically I work to pay for my liabilities. My liabilities were my vehicle, my house, everything that was ending up costing me money. And I also had a fixed and determined income. So I thought I made it when I went to work and I was getting paid $15 an hour. And then I also had the chance to get 20 hours of overtime every paycheck. It was awesome when, I was starting out fresh. My wife was pregnant with our first child, and so it was awesome that I was able to start to save up those funds while we're in this situation where we're starting life and we have a house and we have cars and we're trying to pay for that. But then this was 2012, and we were trying to hang on. The company I was working for we did mineral samples with it was a assay company where basically mines across the globe would send us rock samples. We'd crush them down and figure out what the mineral contents were. Pretty cool. I liked doing that. I was wanting to be a geologist. But then the thing happened is they were holding on past 2008 and just couldn't. And then they finally shut down and they let everybody go. And that happened literally 2 weeks after my daughter was born. And so, I walk into the office and they're like, "Hey, congratulations, Ray. Here's your 2 week severance pay. Have fun with your newborn baby," kind of thing. That was rough. That was a really, really rough time. And I knew that I had to do something different to make sure that I could control more of my income. I could control more of my future and my destiny as much as I could. Now, I know I can't control everything, but I could do something different than what I was told to do. So once I started getting plugged into these like-minded folks and plugging into these masterminds, I started to realize about debt acceleration. And a lot of you are having a tremendous success with the credit banking, the velocity banking strategies. And that's amazing. I love hearing your success stories. CJ, Joseph, we all love hearing your success stories. The facts of, people are paying out their houses in just a few years. People are knocking out their car loans in matter of months. It's insane on what's happening, and the fact that it's still not well known. And I see people every day drowning, and I'm sure you do now too. When you're out there in the world and you're excited about these new strategies, and you see people and you're telling them like, "Hey, you guys got to go check this out because this is absolutely amazing." It's one of those things that hold on, let's see. Can you guys even see me? I'm like sitting here talking, and I just realized you guys can't even see me. Oh, that'd be good if maybe put on my camera here. I mean, I know that everybody in the webinar, you guys can see me, but I just realized that nobody on YouTube can see me. No, no, not that one. Let's see, let's pull this over there. Hey, there I am. Look at that. Put this up in the corner there. Perfect. Now you guys can see me. Hey, everybody. There we go. So I'm all showing you pictures of my kid, and nobody on here could even see it. Hey, that's all right. We'll get to that. Let's talk about that debt acceleration, the velocity strategies. That's absolutely mind-blowing and life-changing. All right, what about those write-offs? We were just mentioning the write-offs, cell phone, turning these into business write-offs, having over 400 deductions that you can take advantage of. Because when I was just focused on paying the normal taxes, maybe 8 or 9 deductions I could come up with. But as a business owner, I mean, we have hundreds of deductions that we start looking at now. The assets, the house I'm living in, we're talking about the home office. This house that I'm even in right now, it's not even owned by me, it's owned by my business. And, I basically have this provided to me by the company. So the utility bills are in the business name, the insurance is in the business name, everything is in the business name. So I own basically nothing, but I control everything. And that should be your goal too. And I have the new and controlled income. So new and controlled income, that's where we can really choose how hard and how smart we want to work. The more effective we are at maybe bringing in revenue or finding a good deal, that's the more control that we're going to have when I was an employee. And I know we're focusing heavy on the tax system today, and I'll tell you exactly why after this. But many employees' current situation is 33% of that's going to interest, 33% of that's going to living, and 33% is going to taxes. And yes, that's what I'm saying is we're really only living on about 30% of our funds. This is a big problem because have you ever felt like you're running out of month before you run out, or you're running out of money before you run out of month? There you go. I've been there, we still have another week left before I get paid, and this bill came up and we weren't expecting that, and then this expense came up, and then now we're in a situation. And so when I first heard this, I said, okay, I don't know if I believe this, because I'm not paying 33% in interest. That just sounds outrageous. I mean, I know some of my credit cards are pretty high, but as we all know, and if you've been plugging into this channel, you'll see that the amortization on mortgages is out of control. On loans, on student loans, anything with that loan in it is a lot of interest that we don't realize how much we're actually paying. And then when we put these on different types of lines of credit and we're taking out loans and we're not using our money effectively. For example, I was talking with a phenomenal lady this today, and she's going to be joining the team, and she was like, "Hey, I got some money in the savings account. Should I just pay this straight with my cash?" And I was like, no, no, no. Let's work on the movement of money. Let's put it on a credit card and then use that to make the payment on your credit card. And now you are starting to actually use your money more than once. Instead of just straight using your cash for something, put it on the credit card and then use your cash to pay the credit card off. It's just using it more than once. Now, taxes. When I was married with a couple kids, I'm thinking, well, do I really pay that much in taxes because I'm getting a tax return? I mean, the earned income credit helps, but there's still taxes that are always being paid. But then it's not even that on the income. We're paying taxes when we get to the gas station, we're paying taxes at the grocery store, and we're paying tax after tax, property taxes. I love property taxes. Um, you know, your goal should be to pay a whole lot of property taxes because those go to our city infrastructures, that goes to our first responders. I absolutely love paying property taxes. Income taxes, that's up for debate. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know about the way the government likes to spend money. Sometimes they blow money, and so it's interesting to be uh, conscientious of these things and seeing how other folks spend money and seeing how you can change and adapt and grow. But with all those expenses, it really only leaves a little bit for us to actually live on. And so when we talk about business ownership and we talk about the credit banking strategies, we want you to move your life into this position where only 10% is going to taxes and only 10% is going to interest. And then you get to live off of the other 80% that you have. This is when it starts to become powerful. And literally by just moving things around in your life, you can start to free up capital that you didn't even know existed. If you guys have seen a little video, I'm going to give you a little breakdown on the tax matrix, the high financial efficiency versus low financial efficiency. And we're going to talk a little bit about how controlling stuff matters versus owning stuff. I was talking about it a few minutes ago. The whole key is to own nothing and control everything. So let's look at cash flow on both sides of the spectrum. Very first one. Now, if we are in the low financial efficiency, we're earning money on our social security number. I do not want to get money paid to me in my name on my social. If money is coming at me, it better be going to my business. That's going to be on the higher financial efficiency right here on the EIN number. So let's look at the income tax on both of these. Well, if I'm at work or I'm at a job, if I'm getting paid on my social security number, that's 33% of income tax before I start looking at any of my deductions. The great thing is on the high financial efficiency, if I get a check, let's say that boom, get some mail. Here's a check in the mail to me to my business. Taking out my cell phone, I'm taking a picture, I'm depositing that straight to the business account. Government hasn't stepped in any place. Now, when I am going to be paying our employees, I basically have to withhold earnings and make sure that we get that sent off to the government. It's a little bit of a different situation. So, before you get paid on the your W-2, that little that gremlin. Actually, it's our job as employers. We have to do that. It's just what we have to do by law. We have to ship that off to the IRS. Now, when you get paid on both sides, especially on the low financial efficiency side, we end up spending our money. So we're going to take a look at spending 50% of our money. Now, I'm going to talk about using 50% of your money on the business side. This is using this for basically all those tax deductions, like I was talking about, having the kids clean up the home office, sweep up, shred papers, take out trash, things like that. Also, the space in the home office that can be tax deducted. But I'm going to use my funds more effectively. I'm going to pay the children for doing work, and then the kids themselves can then go pay for everything that they need to do. And then that's when it becomes a business deduction. Now, depending on if you have an S Corp or you have an LLC, there's a little bit different ways you want to do this. You might be able to just have like a sole proprietorship management company, or you need to actually have an LLC that's a family management company. But all those things are taught by a phenomenal gentleman named Mark Kohler. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Mark in a little bit. But when you start to understand how does all this work, because you may be thinking, do I need an LLC? Do I need an S Corp? Do I need an LLC that files as an S Corp, Series LLC, C Corp? What is it that I actually need to be setting up? Don't worry. We're going to let you know how you can find out all that information. Let's get back to this though. We're talking about using it versus spending it. Now there's the life tax. We always have the life tax. That's just 10% of just living in this country. Now let's take 100% of our money here that we learned on our social security number. We subtract all of our expenses. That only leaves 7% of our funds that we have for savings. So if you've been feeling like you just aren't able to save money, this may be the situation that you're in. Now let's look at it from the higher financial efficiency and running things through a company. Well, after we use our money, we have life tax. That leaves us with 40%. And instantly you start to feel like you're making more money, because a business owner making money versus you making that money on your W-2 is greatly different. And then you're taxed. You're taxed on the net income on the business. So we've used those funds tax-free, and then what is left over is what we are actually going to pay taxes on. So the net tax rate is only 8%, which gives us 32% of our money left over for us to invest, to spend, to reinvest into our company as we wish. Let's take a little look at investing. All right, so controlling stuff versus saving stuff. Let's take that 7% that we made, that we were able to save, and let's put it into a CD. Have you seen any of these lately? They're talking about your certificate of deposit, and you can get a whopping 1% return. Anybody know what inflation is right now? Because I'll tell you what, that's not even keeping up with inflation. But let's look at controlling stuff. So we take that 32% and we start investing into properties. This is powerful stuff, because I want you guys to understand that there's a lot that can take place when you really start to look at how this entire system works. And I want to show you that this is what we're going to be going over each and every week. We're going to be going over different aspects of this. We're going to talk about how to control that income. So there's the components of a real estate deal. There's sellers, there's buyers, and there's money. And then we're going to put that together with time, knowledge, or relationships. So of course, the risk is reduced as you have more knowledge, as you have more relationships, as you have more time. So the components to a deal: there's a seller, there's the buyer, and there's the money. And then we're going to add that to whatever personal resources you have, whether you have time, you have knowledge, or relationships. Now you got to start to look at how you're actually going to acquire your properties. I recommend you start getting good at one specific strategy, and then as you understand that, then you start to expand out to others. Becoming an expert in a certain area is really important. But knowing how to do all of them in case they come up is also important as well. Now, I know a lot of folks that are doing short sales right now. I've never done a short sale actually, but I know the concept behind it. I know how it's done. We've dealt with a lot of foreclosures, pre-foreclosures, and we've done auction properties. We bought in REOs. So I want you guys to think about that. Right now, the economy's in a nice little state of pause, is the way I want to say it. But what is going to be coming out in the next few months? And my concern is how many mortgages are currently in default. We are approaching 4 million, 4 million mortgages in default. Now, some of these have extended forbearance periods of time. Some of these in default were going to happen anyway. Even when the economy is doing great, people will fall on hard times. Um, a lot of folks, were laid off, and when they were laid off, they were able to apply for this. My biggest concern is there's a lot of folks also that were able to collect unemployment, and I do know several folks collecting unemployment right now, but they don't even want to go back to work because they're making a lot more. They're getting the state unemployment, but then they're also getting the $600 bonus from the Fed. And so the question is, when that all stops and the banks are able and the lenders are able to resume foreclosures and resume evictions, there's going to be chaos. Now, I'm not sure exactly when or how that's all going to look, and I hope that it all works out for the best, but we also need to be prepared if something doesn't work out necessarily. It doesn't turn itself around very quickly. I think that's the best way I could say it. So where are you going to fit into this? Are you going to start looking into wholesaling? Are you going to be looking at fix and flipping and rehabbing properties? Are you going to be looking at buying up rental properties? Or are you in a situation where you're just going to be looking for a place to put your money to work? I want you to get set now and figure out over the next, year or two, where are you going to be if things turn for the worst or if things get better? Either way, there's going to be opportunities. The question is, where do you want to actually go? A lot of folks start with wholesaling because it costs the least to get into that area. All it is finding a good deal. But I'm going to tell you something. To be an effective wholesaler, what you have to be is actually good at everything. You have to understand what it means to be a fix and flipper. You have to be able to evaluate a good deal. You also need to know what rental owners are looking for, what landlords like, being able to run those numbers. Also, what money lenders are looking for as well. And also, not just the cash price. So tonight we're also going to do a case study, and I'm going to go through a couple of options with you guys as far as, hey, this is the deal. What do we need to find out? So stick tuned for that because it's going to be exciting. Oh, we're already there. How about that? Let's take a look at the case study that we got for tonight. I'm going to switch my screen over a little bit here and bring up, hey, there we go. This is Mastermind notes for tonight. Okay, so let me just shrink this down a little bit. That way I can see everybody. Let me just, no, we cannot see you. All right. Oh, that was earlier. Perfect. Moving myself around here. All right. Let me see. Anybody in the chat here? Is the tax major talk with your program? Yes, it is. Nancy Fran says, my business tax helped me offset my underpaying on my W-2. Absolutely, Nancy, you're awesome. Antonio, hello. And let's see, we got some other good stuff there. Jeremiah, Longs, Sharika. Great to see you guys all in here. We also got Raul. We got Achille Taylor. We got Al. Man, all of you guys here tonight, thanks for being here. Let's dive in. So this is going to be participation. I want you guys to shout it out, put it into the chat box, and let's find out how we're going to do this. So what I'm showing you here on our screen is a single family home. That's what we got so far. Single family home. What type of information do we need? All right. So what else are we going to need to know? We got a single family home. If you're looking at evaluating a property, what else do you even want to know? Do we care if it's just a house, or is there some other things that we want to know about it? What else do we want to know? If I say, hey, I got a house for you, do you want it? Well, what kind of information do you want to know? Anybody? What do you want to know? Let's see here. Well, I know for me, I want to know first and foremost, how big is it? Or how many bedrooms? That's kind of something I want to know. So this is going to be a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. Okay. And since we talked about that, let's talk about how big it is. So this property is 1,423 square feet. That's how big it is. And what else do you want to know? The cost. Hey, there you go. ROI. All right, so Nasty Friend says the cost. That is a perfect question. They are in a situation. So they are looking for basically offers. These people are in a little bit of a situation. Antonio says the return on investment. Absolutely. We want to know that too. So let's tell you a little bit about the house. Well, I'll tell you what the ARV is. So let's take this here. The ARV, and I got a couple of my other notes there on the screen that you're going to see. Hey, yeah, repair cost, Antonio. Let's talk about that. So let's see, the after repair value, the ARV, is $225,000. And since some of my notes already came up here, we'll bring that up here as well. Now for this neighborhood, the average days on market are 32 days. All right, so Antonio says repair costs, seller financing. Well, here's the bid. Had a contractor walk through the property, and owners kind of had a contractor with me, took a look at it, or and so we're looking at $35,000 to get it completely done, fixed up to that $225,000 price, and get that done in 6 weeks. All right, let's see, we got a couple other things coming through here on the chat. How much is left on the mortgage? All right, excellent. Okay, thank you, Raul. That is a great question. How much is left on the mortgage? That's very important. Yes, sir. Now, before we get into that, I'm going to go, because the next one, before I get into that, there's the most important question whenever you're talking to a seller of real estate, somebody who wants to sell their property, or that you're approaching to see if they want to sell it. There's one very, very important question. For the first person that figures this out, what is that most important question that we have to ask the homeowner? So you have somebody, and let's say you put out an advertisement and they contacted you. There's this question. You got to figure out something with these people. Without giving it away, there's possibly a reason that we're searching for. Anybody? You guys picking up what I'm stepping on yet? What is their cost to go? Yeah, we're getting so close. Yes, that is important. What is their cost to go? That is important as well. But even more importantly, it's like the pondering on life. Let me ask this. Let me ask you it this way. Have you ever moved? And the question is, why? Why were you selling? Yes, Achille. Why are they selling? You get the gold star for the day. I can't stress how important this question is. This is absolutely the most important question. If you forget all other questions to ever ask them, you have to find out why they are selling. This is so important. And the reason that I tell you have to ask them multiple times in multiple different ways is because they're not going to tell you the first reason. Um, so, so homeowner, why are you selling? Well, it's time for us to move. Yeah. Um, sorry. What did you say again? Why was it that you were moving? Yes. Now, now I do know why these people are selling, and it took a little bit to get out of it. Well, we're just looking at our options because people are sometimes ashamed of it. No, 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 Antonio, you're right, dude. That's exactly what it is. In this situation, they are in foreclosure. These folks were in foreclosure. That is why they want to sell. So they are in foreclosure, pre-foreclosure. They are 4 months behind, and that is why they want to sell. Absolutely. And this is the next important thing we got to figure out. As we start to figure out, first and foremost, why are they in the situation they're in? Well, next, I'm going to do this so I can keep you guys from seeing all of my answers. I'm going to adjust my screen just a little bit. Give me 1 second here. Boom. I'm going to move that down a little bit, and then I'm going to move my camera over a little bit there. Perfect. All right. So they are currently 4 months behind. And so let's see, why are they selling? Pre-foreclosure. And so let's go back to what Antonio was saying. So Antonio was saying, what's their cost to go? Well, let's take a look at what's their current, let's see. Oh, no, Raul was saying how much is left on their mortgage. All right, so that's important too. Well, this is what the past due balance is currently. Currently, it is $5,620 to get them caught up. All right, so that's just to bring them current. Now, what else do we need to know here? Next, we need to know, like Raul said, that current mortgage balance. There we go. The current balance is $144,000. And let's see, does who assist me with the contracts? Or do you assist with the contracts? Like, let me see. Antonio, are you talking about like, do I assist them with the contract? Is that what you were saying? So how much would it take for them to leave? Yes, Raul, that's the next powerful question. All right. Well, let's see here. This is the monthly payment. Up, and another piece of information here. There is no HOA, which is good. All right, so that's kind of the, let me shrink this down a little bit. So we can control, there we go. That way we can fit it all here on the screen. All right, so this is what we're going to figure out. How much would it take for them to leave? Well, we got to figure out, yes, how are we, what is our offer? Oh yeah, I mean, that's not something that is included in the program, but the great thing is, I mean, everybody that joins my team, I mean, I'm not an attorney, but I will offer my wisdom, from one entrepreneur to another as far as the great thing in the program, actually you do get provided about, I think they're currently at 114 different contracts. I can show you guys that in a little bit too, which is really cool. And also, for more information on that, the contracts and stuff like that, we're going to be covering a lot of that on Saturday as well. Okay, so back to what we're talking about. Let's look at this deal right here. So what are some of these options? So we got a single family house, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. It's 1,400 square feet. We know that we could sell this thing for $225,000. And it may sit on the market for a month at the most. Repairs are going to be $35,000. The current owner is in pre-foreclosure. They're 4 months behind. They're scheduled to go to auction. Oh, that was one thing that, when is the auction? So they are, let's see, they are scheduled to go to auction in 45 days. Oops, let's see. The auction is in 45 days. The auction's 45 days away. They currently are $5,620 behind. Current mortgage $144,000. Monthly payments. Let's see. Assign it to you and take over the payments. Give them traveling money. That's what Raul says. Yes, absolutely. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. Well, when we're looking at a deal, what we were talking about earlier is, are you going to wholesale it? Are you going to fix and flip it? Are you going to rent it out? Are you going to be the money lender on this? That's an important thing, because what are you going to do with the property? And so I know I'm going to kind of give you guys a lot of the thought process behind it, but in future case studies, I'll just have you guys, need to come up with all these little ins and outs. But we got to figure out how we're going to get out of this property. What's our exit strategy? Yes, absolutely, Raul. What is the exit strategy? Well, let's take a look at this. Let's do a little bit of math. Well, so we know we're going to have to probably pay off the mortgage. We can't get around that. We have this payment, we have that amount. So let's open up another little window over here. And let's take a look at, what do we need? We have what it can sell for. Let's start that way. $225,000. That's what it can sell for. Now, let's subtract out the current mortgage, $144,000. All right, that leaves us with, what does that give us? Put the little equal sign here. That gives us $81,000. Oh, wait. If we have that $81,000, then we also need to actually then what? We have to spend the money to right here, right? The past due, this 5,620. We're gonna have to get that paid, right? Let's see, that equals what? We're now at $75,380. So we got this payment here, we got this payment here. This is the what it could actually be worth, $125,000. All right, so now we're at $75,000. What's the next thing we got to take out? Well, let's take out the rehab expense. If we're going to fix this thing up, now what I'm looking at right now is I'm looking at it from, let's just look at it from a fix and flip standpoint. So let's look at this from a fix and a flip, because whether you're wholesaling it or you're fixing and flipping it, you're going to want to run the numbers pretty much the same. Now, if you're renting this property, you may not have to do as much extensive work. Sometimes just carpet paint, cleaning it up, getting it nice, fresh, and safe for the new owner is enough. But we'll talk about that afterwards, if the fix and flip and the wholesale option doesn't work. But maybe your strategy is to get a rental property. That's another option. But let's take a look at this. So if we're looking at it from a fix and flip standpoint, we have $75,380. All right, so that's what's left basically after all the debt is currently taken care of. Now, let's take care of this $35,000 repair bid. Let's put that in there. $35,000 equals $40,380. Okay. Yes. Hey, see, yeah, Raul, you're on top of it. $40,380. Perfect. All right, so now we got $40,380 that we're working with. What is next? So all we factored in so far is we have taken care of the repair bid. Let's insert in a little, do a little check marks. So we've done the repair bid, and what else? We've factored in the past due amount. Let's do Control 1. We factored in this. Oh, monthly payment, we'll come back to that. There's no HOA. We factored in what the actual after repair value is. Now, so this $40,000, is that our profit? You'll have 6 weeks of carrying costs, minimum. Yes, we got to factor in our carrying costs. Perfect. That's not even on our list here. How much are we going to be paying for our holding costs? Very good. Our holding costs. Now, what is included in the holding costs of the property? Now, if we're looking at a fix and flip, things happen. I always like to run my numbers on 6 months. 6 months. I always like to, depending on the area. I mean, we have a property that we knew going into it, we're going to hold it for at least a year. So I don't know if some of you have checked that other video out on the Wise Guys and Ties channel. You know, go check it out. You see, this is a massive job that's going to take a long time to get done. But on this project, a fix and flip, a standard fix and flip, let's factor in 6 months, because there's going to be the time for them to move out, time for us to get this thing closed, start the work, get it on the market, and then get it to selling. Because even once it's under contract, it could be 45 days, 60 days until that close. And then if something were to happen and that closing falls through, you got to get it back on the market. You want to give yourself a little bit of a cushion. So 6 months. Holding costs. Now, what goes into the holding costs? What are things that we're going to have to figure out? Well, we're going to need to pay for things like insurance, right? And we're going to need to pay for, what else? What else are we going to have to pay for 6 months? Since I've bought plenty of insurance, this insurance is going to be right around, let's put that down here. This insurance is going to cost, because this is, vacant insurance policy, we're looking at about $100 a month. Okay. Just through my insurance company I use. Oh, very good, Raul. The mortgage. We got to remember, there's, how are we actually, Nassie says taxes too. How are we going to be acquiring it? Oh, that's an important factor into our holding costs. So we got to figure out, are we going to be borrowing hard money and paying for the entire property? So let's see, what was the total debt? We didn't add up the total debt. Let's add this up. So the total debt on the property is the current balance, $144,000, plus we have $5,620, which equals $149,000. That is the total debt on the property. Or actually, we should make that red. Total debt on the property right now. Now, the question is, how are we going to actually pay for that? You could get a loan. So there's a couple different options. We could get a loan for this. First and foremost, if you go back to what we were talking about as far as subject to a few weeks ago, that would probably be one of my approaches as well. But they may not be open to that. They may not be willing to do that. They may just want the cash. They may just want it off their hands and off their credit. If you're unable to negotiate that, this is an important thing too. We're in the process of really figuring out what it's going to cost. So let's build in this monthly expense, because regardless if we're having to borrow this money, let's say that we're borrowing this money and we can't subject to it, we have to borrow this money. And let's say that we're going to borrow it from a hard money lender, which is going to be 14%. And then if we're looking at interest only, let's do a little math on that. So let's take this and we're going to multiply that. If I can find my multiplication, we're going to multiply that by 14%, oops, and that will equal 20,946. And let's take that number, and then what we're going to do is we're going to divide that by 12 months, and that will give us about $1,700 a month that we're looking at in a payment. And there could be points, but just for example purposes, this is what we're looking at. So if we're having to borrow the money, we're looking at about $1,700 a month, $1,750. Or if we're able to take over the mortgage payments, then we could be looking at about $1,082. I'm going to be pushing for the taking over the mortgage, but maybe if I'm actually, but the other thing is too, like, hey, are they even going to take that price? Because in this price, with the total debt, I mean, is that the offer price I'm going to offer them? I mean, can I give them any money at all? I mean, I got $40,000 of cushion here. I mean, they may be thinking like, hey, I need some money out of this deal. I don't want to just sell my house for 150,000. It could be worth 225,000. Is there any money that we can give them in there? I don't know. Let's figure that out. That in itself is a very, very important bargaining chip. A very important bargaining chip. Well, I mean, if I have to borrow the money, I can't pay you as much because I'm going to have to go figure out a way to raise $149,000 plus whatever you want out of the deal. So that is not going to be my first go-to. So we're going to set that right down here. Let me shrink down my screen again. Let's bring this back down. Let's see. Moving money or rent money to another location. Yes, Raul, that's what we're talking about. Let's figure out, really how much do they actually need to go. I'm going to adjust my screen here for a second so I can get myself back on here. All right, so let's take a look here. We got this monthly payment, $1,082. If we're looking at a subject to, let's factor this in. We got the insurance plus, okay, so I'm gonna just delete this off. Okay, so as far as things in the holding expenses, we're gonna have insurance, which $100 for insurance. And then we're gonna add that to, let's add that to the monthly payment. Okay, what else do we need to worry about? So far, we just have insurance. We got the monthly payment. Nasty Friend said taxes. Definitely, we can factor in taxes into that as well. We will be factoring in our taxes into our numbers for sure. Let's put that up there too. Taxes. Now, there's a couple different approaches on taxes. You may not have to pay all your taxes up front, but you do want to factor those into your numbers. So I'm going to actually put taxes on a separate line here, and we're going to come back to taxes. So insurance, we also have utilities, if I can spell, which apparently, all right, so utilities, so that's going to be water, electric. Depending on where you're at, you may not have to use gas right away. You could set up gas later. It just depends on where you're living. But water, electric for sure. This size house with work going on, I think over the 6 months, you're still going to average around to $100 a month. While the work's going on, maybe they're really using it a lot. Maybe it's in the summer they're using the AC. But when it's after the work's being completed and it's sitting there, there's not going to be a lot of electric usage. So let's factor in $100 for electric, and we're not going to need that much water, so let's factor in $50 for the water. Then anything else as far as what we might have to be paying on a monthly basis. There could be some other things. There's always things that could be popping up. If there was HOA, here I'll tell you the yearly taxes on this property. These are, it's $1,438 is the yearly taxes on this property. And so let's add these up and see what we get. So monthly expenses of $1,332. All right, let's take this Move this down here, and we are doing this for 6 months, which will give us a grand total of just shy of $8,000. All right, so let's go back up to here where we are deducting everything. 40,000, we're going to subtract out the $7,992 of our 6 months of holding costs. Boom. Now we're down to 32,388. What else is there? Well, we talked about taxes. If we're holding it for 6 months, then we're going to have to take that 1438 and we're going to want to divide that by 2. Whoops. 38 divide that by 2 equals, whoops. Let's see. Divided by 2 equals, since my calculator's not working, where's my buddy Raul? 2, and there we go. 719. Boom. Thank you, Raul. All right, so $719 is going to be our taxes. So let's factor that into our numbers as well. Now, the reason is, if this was a rental property, oh, you know what? It depends on how we're acquiring it, if we're going to have to pay those taxes or not. If we are going and getting a money loan, then we're going to have to factor in those taxes. But if we're doing the subject to strategy, guess what has already been factored in? The mortgage payment. So this is where the taxes are at. We need to be aware of what this is going to be. And this will get prorated at closing. But if we're able to take over the mortgage, then we don't have to factor into that monthly expense or setting those funds aside because it's already built into the mortgage. Also, even though there's insurance on the mortgage, you will still need additional protection because the standard homeowner's policy, all right, so make sure your volume is up on this. Your standard homeowner's policy will not protect a property beyond 30 days vacant. For everybody out there in the world that wants to get into rental properties and fix and flips, you cannot rely on that homeowner's policy to protect that house if it's going to be vacant and not lived in for more than 30 days. Let's say that we're going to have to dive into that deeper on another day, but very important to understand. So we still are going to have to add on a vacant policy, vacant rider, and it may have to be with a separate company as well. I always recommend you get a good insurance professional to help you as you're going through this. Yes. Raul says, then fix it fast. Absolutely. Fix it fast and then start living in it while you're selling it. There you go. That's a good quick solution. All right, so let's recap where we're at. We are currently down to $32,000. We have factored into this is the cost of the property, the rehab expense. Is that everything? So let's see. We have our holding costs that we have factored in. Let's highlight these. We got our holding costs that we've done, and check that off. We've factored in the monthly payments. What are we missing here? What are we missing else out of that? What else is going to be coming out of this $32,000? What else? There's some other stuff. We were talking about fix it fast, and then what are we doing? We're going to put it on the market. So, is there any costs that go along with putting it on the market? Isn't that interesting? Oh yeah, money from former owners. Yeah, we haven't even factored that in. Let's see. How much can the owner walk away with? I mean, how much can the owner walk away with? We're running out of funds here pretty quickly. I'm going to move this question. I'm going to move this over here because that's something else we're going to want to figure out. How much can the owner walk away with? That's an important question. Now, if we do subject to, or we're bringing funds in, or we're pulling out a different strategy to purchase this house, let's just focus on that. Well, we can't necessarily focus on that yet until they accept the offer, but we're gonna run the numbers on this and see if it's feasible first. How much can they walk away with? I don't know. They may not be able to walk away with anything because, I mean, so far I got $32,000 here, and we still got to close it the first time, fix it up, and then close it the second time. Dun dun dun. So, those of you that were thinking, well, there's the closing expenses. Yes. So, what about closing? Closing. I'm gonna move this no HOA up to here, so we get a little more space here. Taxes, the closing costs. Isn't that funny that, I think houses are pretty much the only thing, in cars, there's always registration, stuff like that. But even though you want to sell your house, you have to pay to sell your house. You have to go through some type of process. So closing costs, you're going to have to use a title company, especially if you're doing a subject to, most likely you have to do something along with that. They usually refer to that as a wrap or a mere wrap if we're dealing with like a VA loan or something like that. But that closing costs, that first closing, that's going to cost money. Then that second closing, that's going to cost money. And that's all going to be determined on how much we're actually paying for the house. Now, we could look at the closing costs number 2, and we're going to look at closing costs, let's see, sorry, number 1, and we're going to look at closing costs number 2, because there are going to be 2 closings typically if we're fix and flipping this. Now, the second closing, I'm going to run the numbers if you don't have a discount in place. So typically about 2.5% will cover the closing expenses as far as using a title company for the second time. Now, if you're closing it with the same company twice, then you can set up what's called a hold open policy usually, where they can save you some money when you close the second time, as long as you use that same closing company. So let's look at 2%. Now, if our sale price is $225,000, let's factor in 2.5%. And that will equal, oh, that's not percentage, 0.025. There we go. Oops. If I can do my math today. Let's see here. Yep, 5,625. Good job, bro. All right. So what we're going to do is, now that we've done that math, I'm just going to delete that out so we can see that that is what we're looking at for closing number 2. Yikes. I mean, we're running out of money here. I don't even know. Is there even going to be any money left after we subtract out all of these? Let's wait for that. Closing number 1. Closing number 1, let's look at the subject to strategy. Or actually, it doesn't necessarily matter what the strategy is, but closing number 1, if we're going to be closing it and then we're going to do a hold open policy with them and then close it again, it depends on what the purchase price is. So where is the purchase price? Oh, we haven't even figured out the purchase price. So for a placeholder, in the meantime, let's look at this. What are we at? We know at least $149,000. We know at least that much. So let's factor in, if we're looking at 1.5, I like to do a 1.5% on this, but to be safe, let's do 2%. It's always better to go a little bit higher than what we actually need to do. So 2% is of, say, $150,000. That's going to be right around $3,000. So let's look at $3,000 for the closing costs of just using the title company. And what else do we have? What else do we have? We have other costs associated with closing the property. What other costs are there? So, are you going to be using a realtor? That's a great question. Are you going to be using a realtor? Are you going to be doing for sale by owner? We always end up using realtors for our projects. And so as we look on here, we want to make sure that you start to build in your realtor costs. Now, let's factor in an average for this area without having a discount in place is 6%. So 6%. So let's take a look at this. We got 6% of the sale price is going to go towards realtor fees. So I'm going to multiply that by point. Take our sale price of $225,000 and 6%. Thank you, Raul. Is going to be 13,000. Whoops. We're going to multiply that by our 0.06, and Raul already got us the answer, 13,500. Perfect. So then we have that factored in there as well. So let's take the 13,000. Let's add this in. We got where we're at right now, we're at $32,388 before closing costs. So let's take out the $3,000. Let's take out for the first closing. Let's take out the $5,625 for the second closing, and let's take out the $13,500 for the realtor costs, and we get $10,263. Oh my goodness. We're there, there's not going to be much left, because yeah, what else are we after we figure out all of these expenses, what have we also forgotten about? We have forgotten about Raul says going broke. Absolutely. Yes, we have forgot about the profit. Yes, we cannot forget the profit. Now on this, I want to factor in a at least 10%. I want to make 22,500. So what are we going to do there then? If we are here, how are we going to? Hey, it's Joseph Smith. Good to see you. Yeah, see, Joseph knows what he's talking about. He's got closing costs, he's got the realtor fees, he's got your profit. Absolutely. So let's subtract out our profit, and then we'll see what happens. 22,500. That's our profit that we want. What is going to happen? Yikes! We are negative $12,000. So at this point, how many of you are thinking, oh, there's no money to be made? So let's see. Raul says it looks like you got a short sale it. Yeah, let's take a look at this. 12,327. That's a lot. That's, I mean, we could just be happy with making that $10,000 profit, but when we're looking at all these things, we're like, wow, these are really adding up. What can we do? What can we do? Is it a bust? Is the short sale the only option? Working for free. That's what he said. That's what we're all thinking here. Huh. Anybody got any ideas? Is this something that we walk away with? What else do we need to know? What is our offer? What is our offer to these folks? At this point, can we even give them any money to walk away with? Oh, what are we going to do? Oh, well, let's look at this. Let's see. We've ran some numbers on this, but we were talking about the subject to deal earlier. We were talking about taking over the existing mortgage. So, if we don't have to come up with this amount of funds, if we can just take it over, let's look at how much money we actually have to bring to the table here. I know that there's a lot of messes here, but let's see, that was our sale price that we started with. And then we subtracted out the cost of the current mortgage and the cost to get the mortgage caught up. That left us with $75,000. All right, so what if we're able to take this over subject to? So let's say that we don't actually have to raise those funds, and let's take a look at what that looks like as far as the numbers. So if we are going to sell it for the $225,000. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to take over the existing mortgage. So we're not going to actually do the whole closing, or we're not going to go through all the origination of the new loan. But this is going to start to save us money because, let's see, we were into this for, let's see here, 81,000. Let's see, let's take this number here. Let's add this. Oops. If we add this together, what does this give us here? That gives us $86,000. Okay, so this is what we're going to look at. We're going to look at taking the $225,000, and we're going to subtract out this. Sorry, whoops. We're going to subtract out, actually. Let me go back here. So now I'm just messing up my math. All right, let's correct this real quick. All right, we're going to subtract out the cost of the mortgage, $144,000, and we're going to subtract out the cost of the past due amount. Oh, no, we're not going to do the past due amount because that's actually money that we're going to have to come up with. So on a separate line item, now just stay with me because it's going to get a little bit crazy here. We're going to need to get a spreadsheet for this. So 5,620 is money that we're going to have to come up with. So we're going to need to bring at least this much money to get the mortgage caught up. Next, oops. Let's look at that. So we're going to need this to get it caught up. We're also going to need the rehab money. How much was the rehab? $35,000. And we're going to need the monthly expenses. So right now what I'm adding up is if we were to take over the existing loan, how much money would we need to actually do this deal? So we got the $35,000 for the rehab. We got the $5,620 to catch the property up. We have, let's see, where's the holding cost? We got 6 months of holding cost was $7,992. So we got to add the $7,992 to this as well. So we have our catching up, we got our rehab, and we got our monthly expenses. Let's see what else. What else do we have to come up with? We don't have to worry about taxes necessarily because if we're going to be selling it and we're paying the mortgage, remember. Do we have to factor in our closing expenses right now as money out of pocket? No, because that's going to come out of where? Yeah, that's right, Raul. No, because it's going to be coming out of the closing. Is there anything else that we're going to have to come out of pocket for this deal? So we got 5,620 to catch up the past mortgage. We got the 7,992 for when we're holding it for the 6 months. We got the $35,000 of the rehab. Anything else? Money, moving money for the owners. We may be able to actually get the money now. Let's see here. All right, let's see. What does this equate to? 48,612. All right. So now we're looking at 48,612. Now, if this is all that we have to bring to the table, do or can we adjust our profit margin? I don't know if you guys want to. Maybe we end up wholesaling this to somebody that wants to buy a rental property. Let's add in whatever be a good rental property. Now, Now, I do know that there was a lot to get to this $35,000. That was to fix and flip it to the 225,000. What is actually needed if we wanted to turn it into into a rental is actually only about $16,000. So this is all cash in if we're doing a fix and flip. But let's take a look at running those numbers if we are going to turn into a rental. 5,620 plus, just for a cushion, we're going to say it's actually going to take $18,000 to get this thing rental ready, and also pay for management fees and everything like that. We're not going to dive in too deep. We'll evaluate rentals on another day. And what we also want to do is, if we are we going to be holding it? It's a great question. So, do we actually need to come up with this money, or are we just building this for somebody else? So what we need to do is we need to factor in our numbers for what is somebody going to actually have to spend on this. So if I wanted this as a rental, that means I'm going to have to come up with $5,620 to catch them up. I'm going to need $18,000 to fix it up. And if it's going to take me, it's not going to take me 6 weeks to fix it up for a rental. Maybe it's only going to take me 4 weeks. So it's going to take me 4 weeks, and then let's say that it's going to take another month to get a renter in there. So I'm going to have to factor in 2 months of holding costs. Let's look at 2 months of holding. Each month is what? Let's take our 7,000. Where are we at? 7,000. We're just about 8. So let's factor in $4,000 of holding costs. $4,000 of holding costs. Oops. Let's add this. $4,000 of holding costs. Then that works out to how much is this? 27,620. Now, if we're looking at what is the rent at that location, fantastic question, Raul. Good job. All right, I got that right here for you guys. The rent in this area for a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house is 16. There we go. I'm going to write that down here for you. The rent in the area is $16.50 a month. $16.50 a month. That is the rent. Okay, actually, let's change that color to light blue. Oops. Let's change this to a light blue. We'll color coordinate these. So that's the light blue. Gonna change this to a light blue, and we'll change the lettering to black. Oops. That way we can see what we're looking at here. All right. So $16.50 a month is the rent. This is what it's going to actually take to acquire it and get it ready for rental. So 27,620 is what somebody's going to need to have. Now we can talk about getting somebody some money to move. Let's take this and let's also add in money to move. So I'm going to fit that in right here. I'm going to add in some money to move. So let's factor in, how much could we give these folks? We could end up giving these folks a lot more than what they were going to be walking away with, because we weren't going to be able to give them much in the first place. But if they're open to doing this, we could end up getting them a lot more. Let's start with being able to get these folks $2,000. Perfect. Now, what is your fee? Let's say that you're either going to get this as a rental, or you're just building this deal for somebody else. what is your fee for putting this together? Because right now we're at 29,620. How much do you want for putting this deal together? What do you think is acceptable? So for you meeting with the folks, you running the numbers, you negotiating the deal, putting the contract together, getting it in ready to close. Now, depending on where you're at, certain states only allow you to do this one time a year without having a broker's license. For example, Illinois. Um, However, there's always ways around everything. That's what's beautiful is you can always move this into a business and sell the business. There's a lot of options. So we're not going to dive into all those options today, but if you're in a state that is wholesaler friendly and you can sell your equitable interest with no problem and without having a license, let's take a look at what that is. Well, I think for me, I mean, I would like to get $10,000 out of this deal. You know, if I'm going to do some work and if I'm solving some problems and if I can get somebody else, is that unreasonable? I don't know. Let's take a look at that. Let's see if it's doable. $10,000. And boom. That's 39,620. Now, that's the question. Here's the rent. Let's take a look at that rent. This is $1,650 a month for the rent. We're going to subtract out the mortgage payment, which is $1,082. And what are we left with? $568. $568. That's cash flow coming off of that property. Let's take that $568 now that would be coming off of this rental, and let's multiply that by 12 months. Now, what you always want to do is, let's take a look at this. So that'd be $6,816 a year. Perfect. Good job, Raul. Now, we can't always bet that it's going to be rented out that whole time. So what we're going to do is I want to take this number and this is our annual rental revenue, and I want to multiply that by 80%. And what does that give us? This is just being safe and building in some numbers. That gives us $5,452. Now, if that's all, you know, and then so you got to factor in, are you going to manage it yourself? But this is really not your worry if you're going to be wholesaling this out. And if what I'm doing there is I'm running the numbers if I'm evaluating it for me. But do you have to factor that in when you're selling this deal for somebody else? You can, but you don't have to. You can just look at the expense of how much cash flow it's actually going to bring in on an annual basis, because maybe they have some other system in place that they can maximize their revenue or whatever. But let's look at that. $6,816 on a year on a 39,620 investment, because if you're putting this together into a package for somebody to purchase, that's what you're going to want to look at. So let's move down a little bit here and run the numbers on that. So this is the cost of money that somebody's going to have to bring to the table. Let's divide. Where's my calculator here? What I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a little calculation. What I like to do is, if I'm looking at 39,620, actually, what do I want to do here? Let's do this. What I want to do is I want to figure out what my rate or my return on investment is. If I'm going to invest $39,620 and I'm going to start to get, you can pick whichever one you want to use. Let's lowball this. Let's let's subtract everything out and see where this goes. Let's take, only running 80% occupancy, and let's factor in a $200 maintenance and a $100 management. So let's subtract out another 100, or sorry, let's subtract out another 250 a month, and 250, and I'm going to show you why. We're gonna make this look really good. So $250 a month, and if we multiply that by 12 months, that equals what? That equals $3,000. Yikes. So maintenance and management, that's going to knock out all my cash flow. Wow. $3,000, that only gives me what? What does that give me? Oops. What did I just do here? All right. Let's do this. Let's copy this to the next line down, and then we'll do it that way. All right. So what we're going to do is, and I'm going to show you why I'm doing this actually. All right. So we have our cash flow. Let's factor out, we got property management in there. We got maintenance. But, you typically, if you've already spent plenty on the $18,000 on rehabbing it, you're not going to really have maintenance that first year. But moving forward, we want to be able to factor these things in. $2,452. Is that worth it? Maybe. You have a rental property that's cash flowing for you. So is it even a deal for somebody if they're only getting $2,452 of cash flow a year? Well, let's see what that cash on cash return investment. Let me ask you, would you invest $39,620 to get a rental property that made you $2,452 a year, and you have somebody else living in there paying down your mortgage? Now this is what I'm going to look at too. I'm going to factor in, I'm going to divide this. Let's do a little math here. We're going to take the 39,000. What I'm going to do right now is 100 divided that by 39,620 gives us a fraction here. We're going to multiply that by 2,452. All right. So, I just realized that you guys can't see my calculator. All right. So, this is what we're looking at here. We factored in this rental property. If we're going to buy this rental property and we're going to not do management, we're going to factor in maintenance, we're only looking at 80% occupancy, and then so that takes our $6,816 of cash flow all the way down to $2,452. Man, it's like the numbers look good, and then I start hacking everything away, and then you guys are thinking to yourself, man, what? That's a bust. No. Let's take a look at this. So, where's my little trusty calculator? The way I like to do it is I start with 100, and this is just the way that I like to do my math. And I like to, actually I could do it on here. I like to start with 100, because what we're looking for is a ratio. And I like to divide by, I'm sure there's some other ways to do this, but this is the way that's easiest in my mind. Get a fraction here. Now what this fraction is what I'm going to show you here. What then I do is I take that and then I multiply that by whatever my return is. Yep. And Raul, you got it right. That is our percentage rate of return. This is the way I like to do it. There's a couple different ways you can go about doing it, but 6.13% return on investment. Do you believe that there's somebody out there looking they could manage it themselves? They may be handymen, and so they can maximize that investment return. But at having management already paid for, factoring in $200 a month for maintenance, factoring in an $18,000 rehab, factoring in money for them, Raul, more than a CD, factoring in all these things, and guess what else is in there? You got $10,000 for putting it together. Now, is that good or is that good? And then just think about that. Let's say that this is a handyman, and he can do all the work himself, and he wants to manage it himself, and he saved up 39, he saved up $40,000, and or they just want to buy it and live into it. But let's say that there's a guy that wants to manage it himself, he wants to live in it, so then we don't even have to factor in all those other additional expenses. Now let's see what their rate of return is if they're just looking at 80% occupancy. 13.63% return on the investment. Holy smokes. That's beautiful. That's beautiful right there. You could sell that all day, every day. Plus, it's a tax write-off. Yes, Raul. Plus, it's a tax write-off. Absolutely. All day, every day, folks. You can get $10,000 out of that. Or get this. If you just wanted to purchase this yourself, subtract $10,000 out of that. Would you help these folks out and buy a house for you to live in for $29,000? $29,000. You didn't have to qualify with the bank, and all you have to do is bring $29,000 to the table, and boom, you got a house that you're living in, that your business owns, that you rent from your business. There's so many different situations and so many different options. Now, after all this, you may be thinking like, what on earth is the benefit to that homeowner? What is the benefit to them? Why on earth are they going to do this? Well, let's go back to what their other option is. They're in pre-foreclosure right now. Their credit is tanking. They're 4 months behind. The auction, it's in 45 days. Man, that is rough. 45 days. That shouldn't be green because that's a bad thing. We're going to make that white, and we're going to fill that up with red. Pre-foreclosure, and it is 4 months behind. Auction in 45 days. There's no hope of them getting out of this. And in our deal, what are they getting out of this? They're getting $2,000 of walking away money. $2,000. And you may be thinking like, okay, I don't need $10,000. I may only need $8,000. And then you could give these folks $4,000. It's entirely up to you, and it's entirely it's on the situation. Maybe they're already back up on their feet and they just need to get out of it. It's whatever the situation is. You can help and adjust to whatever somebody else's needs are. And you save their credit. Yeah, good job, bro. So the option is it's going to go to auction. What's going to happen is it's going to sell at the courthouse steps. Whoever buys it, most likely, it could be a larger investment buyer, and all they do is they have their attorneys file for evictions, and the sheriff shows up, kicks them out to the curb. I've seen it happen, and it's a horrible thing to watch. So, auction passes, they think everything is fine. Then all of a sudden, a week and a half later, boom, 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 door knock, and it's the sheriff kicking them out to the street. Yeah. So let's see. The person I bought my property walked away from $10,000. Yes, Nasty San Francis. She seemed. I have literally some of the auction properties that we had purchased. The one that Joseph and I had sold for $216,000. Guess how much it was when they went into foreclosure, and it wasn't even in that bad of shape. They foreclosed at like $114,000. $114,000. We sold it for $102,000 more. Now we bought it from the auction. It bid up to $142,000, but they could have literally just turned around and put it on the market and sold and made $30,000, but they didn't. Like we're looking at this house in this situation. This house needs work. What we're doing is we're helping them out. We're going to start repairing their credit. And the way that we structure these deals is if for any reason we start missing these payments, we screw it up, they get the house back. If there was a tenant in there, now they get to keep the tenant. And, they get to keep everything that we have spent on it up to date. So there's a huge incentive for us to keep paying the bill. And then people will also say, well, what about the due on sale clause? Because that is activated. So in the contract, there is the due on sale clause on typically every mortgage that once the ownership has transferred greater than 25%, that warrants the ability for the note holder to call the loan due. Now, in that case, I would say, what is a bank in the business of? Do they want a bunch of houses? Do they want to foreclose on this? Do they want to go through the eviction? Do they want to do all that? Do they want to have to worry about putting this house back on the market? Do they want to call you, call the loan due and demand 144,000? Yeah, I mean, they could do that, but would they? If you're making their monthly payments, because that's what they really want. They want their monthly payments. They just want to get paid and have those consistent payments rolling in. That's all they really want. But worst case scenario, something happens, you miss a payment, whatever, they start calling the loan due. Could you refinance this out if that's what's owed on the property? 144,000. That's what's owed, but it's worth, 200,000 dollars. Do you think there's money out there to be found for that? Absolutely. We go back to the other strategy. Put in, get a hard money loan and get that going and sell it off. There's a whole lot of options that you have, folks. Um, but this was just one of the exercises. This is our very first exercise like this, but each week what we're going to do is we're going to start going through some different case studies, bringing numbers, and I encourage you guys to reach out to us, to submit your numbers, find deals that you're looking at, find properties, and say, hey, look, I would like to submit this, just very similar to the way that we submit credit banking strategies and situations that we go through each week. Now, we don't have a form yet filled out, but you can just email us. I'm going to go over here and close this out for the I've got a couple other things I want to show you, but hey, there we go. That was our case study. I know a couple of you were asking about this. We've been talking a lot about the essentials. We go over credit banking each and every week. We go over, that's the velocity banking class that's taught in here. In the essentials education, there's tax and legal. We talked a lot about taxes tonight. Self-directed IRAs, understanding how to help raise capital. If we go back to this example, you know, Joseph and I, we don't factor in the money costs because we've raised all that capital through self-directed retirement accounts. We bring those folks in as partners into the company, and then that way we don't actually have to worry about this because we could buy this thing, and if the fix and flip doesn't work, then we can just convert it into a rental and talk to our partners and say, hey, look, we're going to hold on to this for a little while. But that's the benefit of having strategies. And the more strategies that you have, the more ability you have to, make things work in your favor. You have understanding your personal credit, real estate foundations, real estate marketing, deal of the decade. Actually, real estate marketing now, I got to change that slide. It just changed. It's now negotiations. Pretty cool class. Creative acquisitions. But the essentials, it is super, super powerful to understand how to actually get all of your foundational aspects in place. And then, of course, there's other core strategies if you want to look at that. Business management, wholesaling, fix and flipping, buy and hold, multifamily, no tenants, toilets, termites, short sales, foreclosures, commercial properties, retiring real estate, wealth acceleration, turning your business into a profitable enterprise. And we just got all sorts of different things for you to take a look at. But we're really looking at folks that want to get started right now in their essentials and work on expanding. Because we have private masterminds. We're doing these masterminds here, but each week there's also a separate mastermind where we're actually diving in deep on each of those 10-day classes. So we gave a little bit of a training on taxes today, but there's a lot of folks that are diving in super, super deep to this education, and that's what we're looking for. And if you want to get involved in the essentials, it's $2,497. We do have 18-month billing plans, so that's $399 down, $116 a month. But of course, if you have a line of credit, you bring any other type of funding to the table, there is a cash discount, and you can get that for only $19.97. I encourage you guys, in the link below in the description, there's a Zoom follow-up that we do on Saturday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. Get registered for that if you want to find out more and ask questions about how you can get plugged into this amazing education. So reach out to us if you want to participate and submit some deals for us to take a look at. Email those over to us at bizcredit@wiseguysandties.com. If you want to talk to myself or Joseph, you can go to Wise Guys and Ties and schedule a 30-minute time slot for you to sit down and talk about, hey, business credit, business financing, credit banking strategies, the Renaissance education, just talking about, real estate in general, coming up with a plan for your success. We're here, we're dedicated and committed to you. And like I said, grab that link for Saturday. It's 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going to go over different ways of funding this. Also some other affiliate programs, ways to make some money working with us. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. From myself, Mr. Joseph Smith, I want to say, everybody, good night and God bless.